bench, there's a halacha, we say Birchas HaMazon, there's a halacha not to have a knife on the table. Except for on Shabbos. But during the week, there shouldn't be a knife on the table. Because it may just happen that from what he says, the bracha, B'nai Yerushalayim, he may feel such a tsar, such a tremendous pain, he'll pick up the knife and stab himself. So happened in the Gemara. And therefore, Chazal Masakin, the knives should be removed from the table in times of benching. Shabbos, we already have a little nechama on Shabbos, so we don't take that step. This halacha is relevant today too, although we may not feel that stinging pain. It's Avelis Yishana, it's an old Avelis, we may not feel that pain. And the truth is, one of the biggest difficulties for us today is to feel the Avelis of Yerushalayim properly. With 2,000 years, we're many, many years after the destruction, and it's a little bit hard to bring it home. We just heard different aspects of things that were missing, and we can keep on reviewing them and going into it, but nonetheless, there's a long way from the mind to the heart. And the Gemara actually gives a little trick here. It's a little trick how to sort of bring it home. The Gemara says in the Shechuna of Rabbi Gamliel, where Rabbi Gamliel lived, you can imagine, how the houses are set up in the city of Yerushalayim, all connected next to each other. And nearby there was Almana, a lady who lost a son. And she would cry through the night. She would cry through the night. And Rabbi Gamliel will hear it. This Niskar, he would remember the Churban. He would remember the Churban of the Mikdash. And he would cry through the night until it Nishru Riseyenav. It's actually what that is. The eyelashes came out. He would cry through the night until the Talmidim, the students of Gamliel, had to remove the woman from that dira, from that dwelling place, because he couldn't function. So we see from here, what does the woman crying over her son have to do with the Churban Abayis? I mean, it's not connected. She's crying over one thing, and Gamliel started crying over the Beis HaMikdash. He wouldn't cry if not that he heard her crying. And we know some Bachai Sivcha Balayla, the Gemara says, when you cry at night, so the voice goes out. That's heart-rendering. It sort of, triggers off our emotions. Very nice. But what's the connection there? So the Mefarshim explain that, first of all, everything is connected to the Churban Habayis. Everything's connected to the destruction. Because in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, there was a Canaan, there's a Canis, and that's what will be. People won't have difficult sicknesses when they get older. They will live peacefully. And any chesaron, any loss, any sense of missing, any painful event is all broken down, all comes down from the fact that we don't have the Beis HaMikdash. And if it would be there, would be in a world of utopia, everything would be great, we wouldn't have these issues. So any slight issue that we have all channels back to the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, it's a valid reason for a person to cry. You feel someone's pain. You feel a pain. That is only a small piece, a small part of the pain, what there really is from the Churban. And that's how you get a mushroom, you get a dugma. You want to feel the pain of the Churban? Think of any episode that happened that rips out your heart. And that's all a breakdown from the loss of the Scheiner. That's a little point. But it brings to mind, there's a mushroom from the Dibna Magid. The Dibna Magid says like this, that there was a king, who had a son, who was the future king, a prince, and he had a lot of wealth, which he wanted to pass on to his son. But he didn't feel his son was up to it at this point. Still young, still running around, spending money not properly. He figured he'd wait. So meanwhile, he was putting it in a trust. So he set aside a trust. He had a minister take care of it, and he put all the money into in a bank statement, whatever, treasure house. He stuck the money in there, and this person had the key, he was in charge of it. Then there were even more precious stones, which he didn't even trust this minister. Then he had a special, one of his closest advisors, he gave the key to that person. That was in another room in this treasure place. Only he knew where it was. It was hidden. Only this minister knew where it was. He didn't trust it to the regular, treasurer in a bank. And then there was even more precious stones. Even more precious stones, which he didn't trust anyone with. He himself kept hidden somewhere in this building. He kept hidden, he kept the key. And then there was a day, there was a fire. The fire burnt down the whole thing. And everybody was crying, see, a terrible, all the wealth is gone. It's gone, it's not here anymore. So let's see. The people, the Hamoinam, they were crying about the loss of the first level, what they knew about. They knew about the treasure house, and they cried about the initial loss. But the advisor, who understood that he had a lot more wealth, much more, precious stones which were worth much, much more than the regular dollars, he really cried. He understood what was missing. But the one who cried the most was the king, because he had hidden there things which were much, much, much more valuable. That's what Chazal say, that Hashem went to Bate Gavoy, he went to his own chambers and he cried. Because we understand a little bit what we have. Every generation that goes down, what we understand. But we understand a little bit what we lost. That's what we understand what we lost is the basic level. Health, wealth, we're sitting on top of other people, some connection, carbonas, maisa, a lot of things we lost. The ministers, the great people in Klal Yisrael, they understand a little more what we lost. They understand what it means to be connected with the Rebbeinu Shalom, Kedusha. But Hashem himself knows truly what we lost. That's just a dogma to understand a little bit, to bring us a little bit into the concept of the true loss of the Beis HaMikdash. It's interesting to note that even during the time of the first temple, the second temple, the Rambam in Perishim Shnayis in Rosh Hashanah says that they kept Tisha B'Av. Even though they had the Beis HaMikdash, they had the Karbanos. In the second temple, they had everything. Not everything. It was 10 Nisan, didn't happen. The Oren wasn't there, it was Niknas. But basically, they had a functional Beis HaMikdash, but they kept Tisha B'Av. And others say it's a Sefer, it's a mistake in the Rambam. But in Sefer Josephus, it says it also, that they kept Tisha B'Av during the second temple. So even when we had the Beis HaMikdash, there was a loss. There was a tremendous loss, which the second temple was nothing close to the first one. The first one was the true sema, the true example of the connection we have with Hashem. But the second temple was already gone. We had something there, but it wasn't what it really should have been. There was a Tisha B'Av then too. So I'd like to speak about this a little bit. What we're crying for, and what's the purpose of crying? There's a famous story brought, the Teres Oila of the Ramah. He brings the story. I don't know where he got it from. I don't know if it even works out historically fully. But he says that after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, Yirmiyahu HaNavi was crying over the ruins of the Beis HaMikdash. He's crying, sad, they're crying. And he met up with Plato, philosophers from Yavin, which probably we know as Plato. I don't know if he lived at the same time, I don't know, but this is where the story is brought. And Plato says to him, it's possible, crying over sticks and stones. Crying over sticks and stones. A. And B, Chacham Kemoischa, a wise person like you, the greatest man of mankind. Yirmiyahu HaNavi was, besides being a prophet, he was a tremendous wise man. A person like you, cry over something that's lost. You should work towards the future. It's what we call, crying over spilled milk. It's finished. It's not destroyed. It doesn't. In the Olam HaChochma, in the world of wisdom, there's no purpose in crying. This is the situation, the way it is now, and you go on. Where does tears come? That's what he asked Yirmiyah. So Yirmiyah, he said, first let's set a little score over here. Do you have any questions in philosophy that you left hanging with? So Plato said, yeah. And he asked him a few questions, and Yirmiyah on the bat answered him on all those questions. So Plato was astounded. He says, I didn't realize the vastness of your chachma, but now that I see how wise you are, my question stands even stronger. Why are you crying? So Yirmiyah, he says, first of all, the reason why I have all this wisdom is because of these sticks and stones. Okay. B, the second question you asked is a very good question. Why are you crying? I can't answer you that question. You won't be able to understand the answer. Only a Yehudi, only a Yid could understand the answer to that question. So that's the end of the story that he brings down there in the Torah Soila. And obviously it would be a little bit hard to answer a question that a Plato asked Yirmiyah that I should kind of tell him where he can answer, but nonetheless to give a little bit understanding of the purpose of crying according to the way it says in the different Sfarim. So the first thing he said that, all the wisdom comes from these sticks and stones. This we understand, we just spoke about, that the Scheiner, the connection between a Jew and Hashem, is essentially was through the Beis HaMikdash. That's how a person will come 3 times a year. He would travel up to the Beis HaMikdash. A person would stay overnight in Yerushalayim, and he would get tremendous amount of Ruach HaKodesh. A person has a tremendous amount of... so I'll give you an example. There's a concept which is widely known but not understood. I'm not into Kabbalah, so I don't think I know what I'm talking about here, but it's called Shviras Kelim. Kelim get broken. What does this mean? It means like this. You go to a shir sometimes. I remember when I go from Rockaway and Nissim Alpert, some child was lifted, and they're looking for a Rav for the shul. So they brought in, they brought in different Rabbanim. So there's one person that came in, a brilliant fellow, and he gave a shiurim there that were out of this world. And there was another fellow that came, another Rav that came, who eventually getting the job, who spoke and hit the core. People understood what he was saying. He was articulate, and he gave it over. He's a very good Rav. He's still there. He does astounding work. He's nowhere near the heels of the one before him. Naturally, the second one got the job, not the first one. The reason is obvious, because when the first one gave the share, it happens to me sometimes. I sit there, have this big Mashiach giving a share, and he's saying, Kasha, Lash, Pateretz, and you're sitting there, and you're out. Why? Because you don't know what's going on. You have no clue what's happening. It could be the most brilliant share in the world, but you haven't got a clue. You haven't got any notion of what he's talking about. He can't enjoy it if he doesn't understand it. Sometimes you this Shviras Kelim. Shviras Kelim is, this Kedusha comes down, and you put boiling hot water into a glass, the glass cracks, breaks. You put so much Kedusha in, and you don't know what's... Either totally misses you because you have no clue what's happening, or if you get an inkling, the person doesn't know how to deal with it, and chas v'sholom, worse things can happen. If a person's not ready to understand things, we can have tremendous negative effect from having too much idea which we cannot break down and understand in logical terms and internalize it. So that's basically what we had in the Beis HaMikdash the hasagas and the understanding and the greatness of mind that we had, we would not be able to have today on our current level that we are. And therefore the Beis Hamikdash had to be destroyed. That's what we say. Manovu alaharim, ragli bavasa, ki ayin v'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem. We'll see eye to eye. Imagine reading up with a malach, eye to eye. You wouldn't know how to handle with it. This is going to happen. When the Shekhinah comes, we'll handle eye to eye. We'll see. We'll be able to understand. We'll be able to incorporate and understand it. So that's basically, we're missing, yes, we don't understand it. It's what the king has hidden away. We don't necessarily understand it. From the things we do understand, we can cry. And we should get to one day. But that's what Yirmiyah was saying, that because of these sticks and stones, that's why I understood what I understood. Okay, that's for the first thing. That's what we cry. We could cry over the loss of the Beis Hamikdash. The second question is, what's the purpose of crying? What's the purpose? Just move forward, do mitzvahs, let's move on. I'm just going to give out some of these sheets here, which, wow, sheets, I don't think we need so many. There are 2 pages on both sides. It was always very interesting to me that the way that we go through the 3 weeks. Oh, I need one here. The way we go through the 3 weeks, we have a sort of we warm up to it. There's 3 weeks, there's 9 days. Then we get Shvur Shechavah. We're starting the Shvur Shechavah. It's like the intensity of the morning. And then we hit Tisha B'Av. And we sit on the floor and we say the Kiddush. And then Chatzos, we get up. We're not on the floor anymore. On Tisha B'Av itself, we get up, we put back on our tefillin, we daven, we're waiting. It's really, we've had it. It's a funny thing. You would think that Tisha B'Av, the day the Beis Hamikdash is being burnt, at least go through the whole day and morning. But we kept them burning until the 10th day. We stop. Chatzos already, it starts getting lighter. Hukal Avelus, it starts getting lighter. It's a very interesting concept. And it always interested me. Why is it like that? The Gemara says that we've split the years of the world to 6,000 years. We all know 6,000 years in the world. 6,000. It's 2,000. 2,000 was the days of nothing. There was nothing going on. It was until Avram started making his people in Haran. Until then, there was nothing. There was nothing. Hashem kept the world going. His own chesed. There was nothing in the world that was creating, was happening. Second 2,000 years, there was Torah, from Avram teaching Torah all the way down till the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. There was a building of Torah. The third group of 2,000 years, the Gemara calls the Moshe HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach. And the question is obvious: the Mashiach isn't here yet. It's quite a bit of time. Why are we calling the whole entire 2,000 years the Moshe HaMashiach? So simple explanation is Mashiach could come. There's a fascinating morale. I like working backwards. So if you look at the page 59, second page, at the bottom. So it says like this: the Zeh, in the box, at the bottom there. Before the bias was destroyed, not even possible, the whole concept of Mashiach. Ki hasholim lo yishava, because the concept of completeness can't happen, k'mo she'amarnu. It can't happen yet. Kashacharva bayis oz yesh b'olam koyach ma she'lo yhoya koydem. Yesh kan a heder shusiba havaya. I think I started in the middle here. But yeah. So the concept of rebirth can only happen after destruction. Only from destruction. From heder, from emptiness could come out rebirth. You can't have light in a place that's already lit. You know, ever try renovating a house? They tell you, no, you're better off knocking down the whole thing and starting from scratch. You can't take an old thing and create it to make it new. You got to make a destruction, destroy it down to the ground, and then you can start building anew. The strongest light comes, comes from the complete darkness. That's what the true light comes in. You got to start from heder. After the bayis was destroyed, so then you have yesh ba'olam koyach mashaloy koydim. You have this power which wasn't here before. The yesh kana heder shu sibel avaya, and you have the emptiness, the destruction, which is the cause of the building. Ubavada, no, that's what you can have. So the reason why these 2,000 years are Yemois of Mashiach is because it's impossible for Mashiach to come before the destruction of the Bayis. This happened from the time of the Meraglim. Moshe couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael, like we all know from Mordechai. If he would have gone in, that would have been it. Mashiach. It really happened from there. B'achai Simcha B'Layla, the first night that they cried, that was the cause. Everything from there went downhill. It was impossible for Mashiach to come without having a total destruction and nothingness and to build up. So the 2,000 years are Yemois of Mashiach, because now and only now is the building beginning. And the morale continues naturally. It's not such a simple process. Now that we have the destruction, Mashiach doesn't boom, he's out. There's a lot of different powers of tumah, powers of negativity in the world, which needs to be addressed, which is a very slow process of building which takes place. But that's what it means the last 2,000 years of the Yemois of Mashiach. And that's what it means that Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av. Doesn't necessarily mean Mashiach is going to be that old. It just means that the power of Mashiach, the koyach of Mashiach, according to the morale, was put into this world on Tisha B'Av. And if you look back now, go back to page 58, the Gemara says very interesting. The Gemara says very interesting that when we all know Choikis, the Keruvim, and it was on top of the Aron, the Keruvim, they faced the Choikis. Did they face each other, or did they face Klal Yisrael? Did they face out? So the still in the Psukim. One pasuk says that there was Yeshalachim, they were facing each other, and one pasuk says that they actually faced outwards towards Klal Yisrael. What way were these angels, kids, Keruvim, whatever? Which way were they facing? So the Gemara says on top, like Kasha kan Yisrael b'zman she'sov oisim mitzvah nishal makom, kan b'zman she'ein Yisrael oisim mitzvah nishal makom. When Klal Yisrael was doing the mitzvahs and behaving properly, so the Keruvim faced each other. One angel was referring to Kaviyachol Yibon Shalom, and one was referring to Klal Yisrael, and they're facing each other. They're doing mitzvah nishal makom, they're seeing face to face. Kan b'zman she'ein Yisrael oisim mitzvah nishal makom, they're facing outwards. They're not looking at each other. They have a fight with someone, you don't look at it. Looking at the other way, not doing mitzvah nishal makom. Omer Resh Lakish, source 5. When the Gentiles, when they came into the sanctuary, they saw the Keruvim embracing each other. What's going on? The destruction happened because Klal Yisrael were doing the first Beis HaMikdash, Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, Shvichas Damim, terrible sins, killing each other. The terrible sins they were doing. Here the Keruvim were hugging each other. What's going on? So Tzadik HaKoyin says, that's in the box here, And we said, שתקף בשעת החורבן כשרואו ישמעו שנכנס להם להיכל אשר לא האמינו מקודם מיד עשו כולם תשובה ונעשה ישראל תקף בגדר עושים מצרים ונעשה כולם מזה הפנים בשלוחם. What this means is like this, that Klal Yisrael at the time when they had the Beis HaMikdash did not appreciate fully what they had. They didn't rise up to the occasion. It was what we would call, like we said before, Shvius Kalim. There was a tremendous amount of love, tremendous amount of Kedusha coming down in the Rebbeinu Shalom relationship. The Klal Yisrael didn't utilize it properly. And it even worked to the negativity, even worked bad. Because when you don't handle it right, you're great people with great minds, with not so strong bodies, you end up using it wrong. The Raish with the stomach. The stories in the Gemara which are very hard to comprehend. You know, the two people were running up to the Mizbeach to try to get to the Sedeshim first, and one killed the other. And the father, the one that got killed, his son was sitting there dying. He says, quickly, take him out because he's going to be Matamada Mikdash. Take him out to the other room. Here they're killing each other, and they're worried about the tumah. You have a tremendous amount of conceptual knowledge without being able to internalize it properly. It causes great destruction. And the time the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Klal Yisrael stopped. And they realized that they didn't appreciate what they had properly. They didn't utilize it properly. They said, Al Naris Bavel, Sham Yeshavnu Gab B'Chinu B'Zachreinu Asiyon. When they went to Naris Bavel, Chazal say, the Medrash says that Nebuchadnezzar, he made sure that they were doing terrible manual labor. They were carrying heavy things on their backs. They were under tremendous oppression. But that's not what they cried about. They didn't cry about that. They cried with Zachreinu Asiyan. They remembered the connection they had with the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what they cried about. They felt it. When you feel the sense of loss, when you lose someone dearly, your loved one, all past grievances are out of the picture now. There's a kesher you have with that person at that time. That's the bechia. Crying is the place where the mind ends. I understand everything ends, and the emotions take over. It's beyond, the Gifter said, crying is beyond the scope of the knowledge. Sometimes you don't even understand the depth of the connection you have with the person, with the thing you're crying about. That's what Bechia is. Bechia is appreciating the full connection that we had with the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what happened when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. And as soon as that happened, the Kruvim was there. As soon as that took place, we're ready. It's time to rebuild. And they went into Nochel, went to the Heichel, Ro Kruvim Hamurim Zabazeh, because this was the ultimate connection we have with the Rebbeinu Shalom. So just to recap, I think I'm over time. Just to recap, so we're crying. The purpose of crying is a past or future. The answer is, we have to appreciate the past. We have to appreciate what we're missing. We have to make that connection. And we couldn't make that connection when the Beis HaMikdash was here. It was impossible. It was impossible to make that connection when the Beis HaMikdash was here. We had to go through the process of mourning, which we could rebuild our connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom, and only then is it possible for Mashiach to truly come. If you look at the Mesilas Yesharim, it's in Perek Yud Tes. Usually that's already in Chassidus. Usually by Zrisus, Zahirus Amat, you try to follow every step in the Mesilas Yesharim. It's quite invigorating. And when he gets to Chassidus, he talks about the mourning of the Aveil Sushalayim. I don't have it here on the paper. He talks about the mourning of the Aveil Sushalayim. And he says an outstanding statement that when a person mourns, truly mourns on Yerushalayim, it says, Miyad shoro olav ruach HaKodesh. Immediately it falls upon him ruach HaKodesh. So a person could regain, Rabbi Solomon used to say, a person could get the same connection he gets to the Rebbeinu Shalom on Yom Kippur. He could get with the Rebbeinu Shalom on Tisha B'Av. because it's a way of connecting. It's a way of connecting by appreciating what we are missing. That's the concept of b'chia, of crying, and that's why we don't say tachla on Tisha B'Av. We don't say tachla, it's a Yom Tov. Why don't we say tachla? It's the biggest time of Hester Purim. Every destruction in the world came from Tisha B'Av. Some of them started on Tisha B'Av, the Spanish Inquisition, the first of the two world wars. Every destruction, every personal sorrow a person has is all based in Tisha B'Av. Because when this Midrash was here, these things were not relevant. It's not a time for these things to happen. Every sorrow we have is from that. When we cry about the sorrow, we can remember the sorrow of the Beis HaMikdash, because it's all connected. And when we do cry about it, we make a connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom. We appreciate our relationship, and from that, we can be Zocher,